Welcome into House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated, uh, MQB. Gilbert, we are here to preview the matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks. Week 11 is here, Gilbert. Um, we've had an interesting last 24 hours, Gilbert. We uploaded a video of an interview that we did with Fox Sports reporter Eric D. Williams or Dana Williams. And we've seen some interesting comments. It's good to see that the rivalry is alive and well between the Rams and the Seahawks. But what were your thoughts after seeing some of the comments there?
Yeah, hopefully some of those Seahawks fans, and I know some of them were pretty upset with the analysis from the video. Hopefully you're here to watch more, and we do keep it fair here. I've been critical of the Rams all season, so don't worry about that. I'm not one-sided, and I think listeners and viewers of House of Horns will tell you that. I don't sugarcoat anything. But yeah, I do have my concerns about Seattle, I have my concerns about the Rams here. So hopefully you stuck around here. I saw we got some good subs too out of the video. And then Rams fans, where are you guys? Go in the comments and talk trash to the Seahawks fans. Come on. Just kidding. But watch the video. I love that people are engaging, they're commenting, they're liking. Eric D. Williams from Fox Sports really broke it down. And yeah, me and Eric have concerns about the Seahawks here. I know Victor and our friend Fernando are higher on Seattle, so it's not just the network that craps on Seattle, but it's a big time game. I like that there's a lot of tension on this game here. It's create a game of creativity, but also a game of a lot of mystery. So it's very intriguing on many levels here. We're gonna break it down here, but uh, Eric got it started yesterday. Check out the video if you haven't. Go comment so that way when you get more comments in the video, it goes out to the world a little more. So thank you for all the support, good and bad. I don't care. I like the engagement. And one more thing, we're trying something new here on the YouTube channel by doing more lives on the YouTube Shorts, but I think it doesn't look that good. It looks kind of bad. It's like a zoom in of my face and then like half of your face, Victor. So if you're
Yeah.
watching on YouTube Shorts, we're gonna try to figure it out, but we're experimenting here. So we're trying to get on live in multiple avenues here or multiple areas for YouTube. So just to throw that out there, and let me know if you like the YouTube Shorts version more than the horizontal version.
Yeah, well, yeah, I want to hear from everybody here, but I'm with you. I want to just give a shout out to ESG who got the comments going there for a Rams fan last night on that video, and I was able to respond to him, and that was the last person I responded to because
Wow.
then I woke up and there was a bunch of comments on there. So shout out to ESG. He's been commenting not only on our Compas on the Beat stuff, but also on here on House of Horns. So shout out to him. But yeah, we got a great show here. We're gonna preview, as we said, we're gonna preview that this week 11 matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks. You know, two teams that are tied for the division lead in the NFC West. And we got plenty to cover. We'll, not only like I said, preview the matchup, but we'll get into the latest news and notes, plus some storylines for both teams going into this matchup. Lastly, we'll do our game predictions. But before we get to our game preview, Gilbert, do you have an engagement question for our viewers or listeners?
Yeah. What are the keys to a Rams victory against these tough, mighty Seattle Seahawks? See, I could say good things about Seattle. What do the Rams need to do to beat the Seahawks? I'll get it started here, but let me know in the comments. But you definitely gotta have a probably your best secondary performance of the season against JSN and Rashid Shaheed. Shaheed moved over from New Orleans to Seattle at the NFL trade deadline. He wasn't used that much against the Cardinals because the Cardinals are embarrassing and they stink and they were down 35 to 0. But they're going to stretch the field against the Rams here. So that's probably my key is to have better pass coverage and the best secondary performance of the season. But let me know other concerns. Are you worried about uh, I'm not just worried about, but maybe you want the pass rush to come alive. You want Jared Verse to have his best game of the season, put a stamp on this game, and go after Sam Darnold. Put pressure on Darnold. Darnold has had a couple head scratching interceptions this season. Maybe is don't let the Seahawks establish the run. They've been very inconsistent with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker the third. But let me know, what are your keys to this game, and we're gonna break it all down here. All these things are kind of, this is getting my mind going here because there's so many intriguing matchups. Maybe you want the Rams to play less 13 personnel and more 11 personnel, or maybe you're saying no, 13 personnel is hot right now. Keep it going. Get 3 tight ends on the field. We don't care. Keep it going. But yeah, it's all these topics we're going to break down here for a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can go with in terms of a key here for a win for the Rams over the Seahawks. But before we move on, someone said, what is it with the iPhone format, Gilbert, from Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew, I mentioned that earlier, and let me know because we're trying something new here. Maybe it wasn't the best week to do it for a big time game, but now I'm wondering if the version on your phone that's usually horizontal is not looking right, because we have two versions. We have one for the horizontal, and then we have one for the vertical on your phone. So for whatever reason, um, say you've been watching on your phone and it screws it up. Let me know. I'm sorry. If Pepe Le Pew, you've been watching on your phone the whole season and now it looks shitty. I could say shitty, right? Let me know. Maybe I'll ditch this thing here, but it's not looking good right now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we have one. I'm on the laptop, but let me check my iPhone. He says, one comment here from James Wheelock: Rams must protect Stafford from that Seattle pass rush. So he's got a key there. We have Ronaldo who says hi. So it looks like we're getting some traction here from the phone, because there's like a little icon here that has a little phone on our comments. So maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is. Who knows? But good to know. Something new that we're trying out, and we'll see how it goes, Gilbert. Let's get to some Rams news and notes segment plus injury report. Um, I'm just gonna go quick because I really want to get to. I want us to discuss this matchup and kind of break it down on both sides of the ball here for both teams. And so let me start off with the injuries report, I guess. Devontae Adams has an oblique. He did not practice today, but McVay said he expects Adams will be ready to play on Sunday versus the Seahawks. One more injury, Gilbert. Ooh, now I'm the big guy here. There
Sorry.
we go.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm messing with stuff.
You got me by surprise there. Then Rams defensive tackle Kobe Turner won't practice today, or did not practice today with the back injury per Sean McVay. Did not get any other report in terms of whether or not he's going to play this week. And then just some notes here: Rams signed tight end Nick Muse to the practice squad. Sean McVay says that the Rams will continue to go with Harrison Mevis at kicker, but still believes that the future is bright for Josh Carty, and the Rams will work with him on his development. Also, in terms of the special teams, the Rams waived long snapper Alex Ward and signed Jake McQuaid to the roster. So, and if you missed that interview with Eric Williams, he talked about the fact that he had a conversation with who was it one of the defenders for the Saints, where they talked about how they knew when the snap count was coming, and so they were able to block the kick there. So something you want to go and check out, and it might be a reason why they went with Jake McQuaid here to be the long snapper going forward, Gilbert. And that is it in terms of news and notes. Are you concerned about the Kobe Turner injury today?
Yeah. First of all, I figured out what's going on with this crappy vertical format. If you're on your phone and it doesn't look good, or if you're on your laptop and it doesn't look good, there are two versions of the live. Go to the other one, and that's going to be the full picture, the full horizontal. Stick to that one. Again, we're trying new things here, and I hate that it's happening right now during a big time game. But there are two live links. One is meant for the vertical, which is on your phone. That one doesn't work. Forget about it. We apologize on that one. But if you want to comment and just listen, that's great too. But don't watch it. Then the other live stream is a horizontal full picture. So there's two. That's the confusion there. I'm sorry. I wish it was better. But Victor, go ahead and do your job. And
Yeah.
yeah, we figured out what's going on here with the technical
Before
difficulties
we
here.
jump into our storylines for both teams, Gilbert, I want to get to some of the comments here. Pepe Le Pew says, not too bad on the iPhone. Peter Rossetti says, if they can control the Seahawks rush, they'll be okay. Delbert Delgado says, Sam Darnold must be an unsuccessful day. Rams D-line must get to him. Stop Seahawks running game. Seattle trying to grow up, but this is a big boy level football. And then speed is the key, which I think it's a Seahawks fan. Seahawks all the way. Welcome in. Speed is the key. We love hearing from both sides here. So awesome. We got some keys there. And then one more says on YT cell phone,
Wow.
I got the vertical view. Okay. So there you go. So we got a
Okay.
little bit of
Thank
both
you.
there.
Yeah. Thank you for the feedback and the patience here. But again, if it looks crappy on the vertical version, there are two links, and I think maybe Alexander H got the right link. So there's two. If it looks crappy, go to the other one, and I'll keep repeating it throughout the show as more people jump on. But yeah, speed is a key. Thank you for being on the show. Maybe you're watching for the first time, or maybe you watched the interview with Eric D. Williams. But yeah, it's going to be both fan bases here. It's a big time game. I'm glad that the Rams and Seahawks fans, they won't get along, but they're here together to hear some good breakdown of this game. But yeah, I'm ready whenever you are, Vic.
Yeah, let's get to storylines here, and let's start off with the Seahawks. I'll let you start off here. I know that a lot of Seahawks fans came after you just because you talked about that some of your concerns with this team, with the fact that they haven't really played anybody, and other concerns in terms of some of the talent on this team. They're tied for the division lead. I feel like they've done what they're supposed to do in terms of taking care of the schedule. Yeah, they had a loss against the Buccaneers. Yes, they had a loss in their first game against the 49ers. But where are you at on this team, and what are some of your concerns? We'll start off with them, and then we'll move over to the Rams, and I'll talk about some of the reasons why I like them and why I had them being a playoff team this season before the start of the season.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we're together on this Seahawks segment, because we are definitely in a strong disagreement here. You think the Seahawks are that good? I think they're just, I'll say, a little bit of a pretender, but I also think they haven't done much to get this much hype. And and I think they're 2-2 against winning teams. They're probably the two of their best, or two of their biggest games, of the season so far. They lost to the 49ers at home when the 49ers were at full strength. Brock Purdy beat them in that game. I remember Mike McDonald was too conservative, where when they got the ball, Sam Darnold didn't do anything, and they gave the ball back to Brock Purdy, and he stole that one. And then you got one against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers at home, and Sam Darnold played lights out. He was great. It was not his fault, but he threw a costly interception at the end, and it gave it to the Buccaneers there. But other than that, like, I can't get behind the Steelers victory. The Steelers are whatever. Steelers are pretenders. Steelers just got beat down. But the Chargers, I do not have a ton of respect for the Steelers. But hey, they went into Pittsburgh. They handled business. And then a big part of it is, like, it's part of the way the NFL is. You play the teams in front of you, and the Seahawks have been handling business. They've been dominating teams in the past month or so. So have the Rams. The Rams haven't really played anybody. I know they beat the 49ers, but that was a weak 49er team. So I'm not trying to discredit the Rams there. I need to get somebody to like me, right? I'm bashing both teams right here. But both of these teams have gone like a whole month of not really facing anybody. The Rams beat the Colts, but that was way back in week 3. The Rams lost to the Eagles. The Rams lost to the 49ers when they were shorthanded. So there's a lot of mystery here, and there's a lot of creativity, and I think that adds to this big time matchup. And putting resumes aside, putting signature victories aside, like, and this is not really Seattle's fault because they've been jumping out to big leads, but I worry about the running game. Can you establish the run when the game is close, where you're not up 35-0? who's the lead guy? Is it Kenneth Walker? Is it Zach Charbonnet? Like with the Rams, at least it's Kyron Williams, and then you mix in Blake Corum. There's a rotation there. I don't know if Seattle has that with Clint Kubiak just yet. Um, I worry about Sam Darnold when he gets pressure. He makes mistakes. We've seen him have some bad throws. There's even times where the offense goes a little stagnant. I remember the Arizona game in primetime. They almost blew that game too. I worry about Mike McDonald and Clint Kubiak in terms of being too conservative. That's kind of the trend for a defensive coach, but I could keep going on and on. But and defensively, maybe I was a little harsh on the episode with Eric saying that the Seattle Seahawks don't have a lot of talent. They do have talent. It's just they don't have the elite defensive player. Like I get the Raiders defense is horrendous, but they have Max Crosby. I don't know who's their Max Crosby or their Myles Garrett with Seattle, but they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of guys that know their assignment. Mike McDonald is scheming it up perfectly. I know people took offense to that with the scheme versus talent. And I'm not just saying the Rams have better talent. I think
both
Seattle's
of these teams are scheme.
Yeah, they're scheme based and they're both talented. And I think Seattle's defense has a little more balance because they have a better secondary. It's not the best secondary. Just don't play Rick Woolen out there a lot. Maybe he's been better. But who's their bunny guy up top? Leonard Williams, is very underrated, but he's not your traditional edge rusher. They don't really have a big time edge. I know DeMarcus Lawrence had 2 touchdowns last week. He was great. I like what I'm seeing from the second-year guy, Byron Murphy II, from the defensive tackle out of Texas. He had a quiet rookie year. Obviously, the Rams don't Ernest Jones very well. I like Devin Witherspoon. I like the safety, Emenwari, the rookie there. So, yeah, they got talent, but I just listed like 4 or 5 red flags. So I don't get it. I know a lot of the national media has the Seattle Seahawks ranked like in their top 3, top 5, sure.
Some have them number 1. These are the top teams.
And I call out my colleagues at SI. They have the Seattle Seahawks number 1. I just don't. I can't do that. If they beat the Rams, sure, fine. You proved it. Go ahead and prove. But right now, Seattle to me hasn't really done much to get this much attention right now.
Yeah, and I respect everything that you've said, and you've been on it from a couple weeks ago. And for me, the reason why I really like them coming into the season, right? They finished 10-7 last season. They trade away Geno Smith, and everybody was upset about that. If the speed is the key, says if the Seahawks beat the Rams, then they are legit. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I still have some question marks in terms of whether or not they're going to get the respect that you want to see. I guess beating the Rams will do that, just because there's a lot of respect for Sean McVay and the Rams around the league now. But in terms of why I felt that this team was legit this season, coming into the season, I should say, and I brought it up to Eric, and it was like Mike McDonald was brought in to beat these guys, right? And so far, he's had a mixed bag. And like I said, I went back. It wasn't a diss towards Mike McDonald, right? But that second win against the Rams last season was in week, was the last game of the season. You had Jimmy Garoppolo out there with a bunch of backups, and Seattle took care of business. They won, right? They finished 10-7, like I said. But one of the things that I always keep going back to, and I thought the key to them for me was the fact that they brought in Clint Kubiak to be the offensive coordinator. I thought he was going to mask a lot of the issues they've had with their offensive line, and they've done so. They're running a lot more of that zone. And like I brought up too with the whole with Greg Olsen making that tweet, which was, I thought, a great point, was Seattle is using their heavy personnel to set up their passing attack. They're using their heavy personnel to attack through the air, and they've been successful with it. And so, shout out to them for being able to do that. And one more thing, I think the other thing is with Sam Darnold, and now it's being proven that they make the right decision to sign him, and then trade Geno Smith. We've seen what's happened with Geno Smith in Vegas now. And then you look at it, Gilbert, and look at the record now for Sam Darnold. You can't say he's the same Sam Darnold we saw with the Jets. You can't say it's the same Sam Darnold we saw with the Panthers. Last season, it was, I don't know if I can trust Sam Darnold, right? He goes 14-3. He's like, yeah, but he had a bunch of weapons. You had Jefferson, you had a bunch of guys around him. He's 7-2 this season, Gilbert. Over the last 2 seasons, he's 21-5. I mean, look, I get it. Some people don't want to, don't like wins for don't. Here we go again with the question, Gilbert. If you want to remind people,
Yeah,
what
Angel. Yeah, sorry, we're trying something new here. We have two live links, and one of them does not look good. Go to the other one. If you go to the live tab on the YouTube channel or on your phone, go to the other one that you haven't been on. That one's better. Sorry about that. Again, we're probably gonna ditch this for the future, but we're trying to do more on the YouTube Shorts, and that version's not looking good right now. But there are two links. One of them works, the other one doesn't. Hopefully, that works.
Yeah, and thanks for letting people know. We're gonna keep reminding people. But in terms of the Seahawks, that's why I just thought, hey, I like their schedule. You know what? I think they're gonna be able to win some games here. I had three teams from the NFC West making the playoffs, and I just felt like with Mike McDonald, they were gonna take that next step, and they've done that. But to your point as well, I also agree they haven't played a lot of teams. Some other wins, yeah, they look impressive, but they blew out, the Saints. They blown out the Cardinals, which is what you're supposed to do. The other thing I brought up to Gilbert, which I don't understand what's going on here with the whole, like, as Mike McDonald as a coach, he's only lost one game on the road, but they've lost a bunch of games at home. And I don't, the two losses they have this season were both at home against the 49ers and against the Buccaneers. And so there's also that. So I just like, I'm with you. There's concerns for both teams, and we'll get into it with the Rams, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why we like the Rams as well. But in terms of the Seahawks, I think that's the reason. And I've been on them since the beginning, Gilbert. I know a lot of people have jumped on the Seahawks of late, like the last 3 weeks, but I expected both of these teams to be fighting for the division, if I'm being completely honest, Gilbert.
Yeah, I do want to say some positive things about Seattle right now, but I'll kind of somewhat disagree on the Darnold discussion. Like, yeah, you're right. He's not the Panthers Darnold. He's not the Jets Darnold. We have now found out that with good surroundings and good coaching, he's able to be a very good quarterback. But he still has this tendency of, I don't want to say going back to being the pumpkin. I think we have a large sample size now with the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings that he's going to be, for the most part, a very good quarterback. And I think he's a lot better than Geno Smith. Credit to John Schneider. Credit to Mike McDonald for saying, all right, Geno, you're not the guy. Let's go get Sam Darnold and improve the quarterback position. They weren't really in the range to draft their quarterback. It wasn't really a good quarterback class. So this was the second best option. I know I kind of harp on mediocre quarterbacks, but I'll be nice to Sam Darnold. He's not a mediocre quarterback. He's definitely an above average quarterback. He's not top 10. He's kind of top 15, top 10. And the reason why he can't pass the top 10 tier is because he makes a lot of critical mistakes. He is definitely more of a system guy who's able to push the ball more. But I go back to the San Francisco game. He had some mistakes in that game, and when he gets pressure, he tends to make mistakes. Even that Arizona game, I know he had 12 passing attempts and he wasn't needed, but he looked pretty rusty. He had an interception in that game. So he does still make one or two mistakes that could definitely affect the game. Again, I want to give him credit for the Buccaneers game, but he still threw the pick at the end. So he's not the Sam Darnold's going to throw, or sorry, it's not that Sam Darnold's going to have 10 to 15 terrible mistakes, amateur hour, Sam Darnold, Jets, and Carolina, but he's still going to be a little skittish. And I think the Rams have the pass rush to put pressure on him. And honestly, has he, I guess you could go with the Pittsburgh game. Has he been in a game where he faces that much pressure? Not yet. That's what it's part of the mystery here. He did get some pressure with Nick Bosa in week 1. They lost that game. The Buccaneers could not really get pressure at him in that game. But it's kind of like the Rams. In the past month, both of these teams have played really nobody. So let's see how much improved they are. I still have concerns about the coaching because of the rushing attack, but here's the positive side. Sam Darnold has definitely quickly found a home in Seattle. It's not easy to go from Minnesota to Seattle in one off season and learn a whole new scheme, work with a new surrounding cast and new playmakers, especially a team that has so many new faces, like from Cooper Cup, and shout out to Cooper Cup. That's going to be the return game here, which we're not really
Yep.
talking about. Cooper Cup returning to play the Rams, but they added so many pieces offensively, and then they really catered the offense to JSN. Sam Darnold made it all work. I'll give him credit, but he still has those 2 or 3 mistakes that worry me about him. But yeah, credit to the organization for taking the chance. I was wrong there. I thought they're going to get caught up in the mediocre cycle again. And why are you throwing your money? You should probably just get a rookie quarterback. But it's working. They're in the dance. And, I've written before that their bold moves pay off. Like, to compare Washington and Seattle, Washington paid for Deebo Samuel. They paid for, or they traded for Deebo and then traded for Lerman Tunsil. That was not the way to go. These guys were over the hill guys, and they're paying the price now. Washington sucks now. Seattle on the other side had kind of made some savvy moves. They got some cap space flexibility. They traded DK Metcalf, and that was a risky move. Imagine if you had DK Metcalf and JSN together. That's what I was thinking. Why are you trying to break up these guys? And then I'm like, oh wait, like you had to pay JSN, you had to pay DK Metcalf. You couldn't pay 2 guys. Then you become the Cincinnati Bengals, right? You're too top heavy. And then credit to the coaching staff, Mike McDonald. They knew that JSN was ready to ascend. He was ready to be a number 1 wide receiver. He's not just a slot guy. He's not just an inside guy. He could play on the outside. He is, and I'll say this, I think he's already a top 5 wide receiver. He might be top 3. Like, I think Jamar Chase is number 1. I think in terms of talent, Justin Jefferson should be number 2, but he doesn't have the quarterback. And Justin Jefferson's starting to fade a little bit. CeeDee Lamb hasn't been healthy. So right now, like, he's a for sure top 5 wide receiver, but for this season, he's top 2, maybe number 1. Actually, he is number 1 because Chase has been up and down for the most part. But I like them. They are dangerous. They're not just a wild card team that's going to be like, oh yeah, you're boring, get blown out the door here, like the Vikings in the Rams playoff game. They could make some noise here. I just got to see a little more here before I jump all in.
Yeah, and I mean I'm with you, and it's funny because we even said a couple of weeks ago that they were the Seahawks were playing way too conservative. Like the play calling or the decisions from Mike McDonald were way too conservative. I was very critical of that first game against the Cardinals where he just refused. He was like, I'm gonna let my defense win these games instead of letting Sam Darnold be a little bit more aggressive. And I think with Clint Kubiak, you're allowed to, especially with that heavy personnel. And so I think going forward, it's going to be interesting. And that's why I bring up, and as we move on now to the Rams, it'll be interesting to me, Gilbert, whether or not the Seahawks fall behind in this game, because as I brought it up, the Seahawks haven't trailed many times this season. They've only trailed for about 45 to 47 plays this season. And so if you're the Seahawks and you get behind, can you trust Sam Darnold, or does that coaching staff trust him enough to be aggressive to lead them back in this game? And so that's going to be something I'm going to look forward to in this matchup if the Seahawks do fall behind, whether or not they trust Sam Darnold to be able to pull them back from a deficit.
Yeah, and that's another positive. I think early on they were like, okay, is this guy really the guy? And then I think he was proving it. And then as the second month of the season came in, they unleashed them a little more. They finally took the reins off, and I kept saying like what are we doing here? I think Sam Darnold proved that he's a good quarterback in Minnesota. Like, why is he being treated like he's not? And they finally, I think they took off the training wheels and said, all right, go lead us here. But yeah, to your credit, they've done that. But yeah, we haven't seen it in a month. So maybe when a game gets tight, they kind of go back to their old habits. But I don't think that'll be the case here. But I feel like I'm unprepared today. I'm gonna charge my phone real quick. I'll still be on the screen, Vic, but go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, and I wanted to share a couple comments while you're fixing up. Peter Rossetti says Field goals, fellas, and we'll get to that with the Rams coming up here in terms of some of the things that we're going to look forward to, and one of the big storylines for this matchup here. Johnny G says the only time McDonald beat us was when we clinched the division and decided to rest our starters on the season finale there. And then Delbert says game is over. High playoff experience and coaching will be different. So he expects
Wow.
the playoff experience to come into play in this game. Pepe Le Pew says run game should be important. If you and then Pepe Le Pew also says if you're trying to do more shorts, YouTube will do it for you through the app. So something for us to kind of check out there as well. And then Johnny G says Maybe's gonna cook in this game. So now flipping over to the Rams, as we talked about, we got to start with the comment here with Peter Rossetti and field goals, fellas. Like I think the fact that again Mayve say they're going with Mavis in this the thicker kicker in this matchup, Gilbert. I think we have to start there with our concerns is special teams, right? Like that's been the biggest bugaboo for this team outside of the secondary. They need to make sure they fix that. And again, we're gonna go back to the interview with Eric D. Williams that we talked about, where he said that a big priority for them was changing the long snapper. They've done that now, and so now now it's can they trust the kicker? If there's a possibility there to kick a field goal, are they going to have enough trust to let the thicker kicker kick the ball there? Because they didn't do that against the 49ers when they had a chance in the second half, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we saw that comment about the kicking game, and I know that we've been focusing, or I have focusing on the Seahawks concerns for the first part of the show. Same thing on the Eric D. Williams interview. Go check that out, by the way. But the second half of the interview, I also expressed a lot of concerns for the Rams here, and like I mentioned, people from House of Horns will confirm that I am a little negative here. So I'm not ignoring at all any of the Rams concerns here, and that's a big part of it. And what if the game is close and you can't trust your kicker? The thing that sucked about the Rams beating down the 49ers last week, Mavis didn't get an actual field goal. He made his extra points, but there was no experimenting with the new kicking unit. And Eric brought it up too. And I've been on this. I kind of feel for Cardi, and I think McVay does too. That's why he's keeping him on, because it's not really Cardi's fault. It's an entire unit's fault. They're not protecting, they're not blocking, they're letting guys come through, they're letting guys put their hands up for blocks here. And I know that kind of affected Cardi's confidence a little bit, not knowing if the line's gonna hold up. That affects your kicking game. And it started getting to his head, and to Sean McVay's credit, he saw it and he reacted. He didn't wait and sit around for things to work out. You don't have a good kicking unit, let's face it. And we didn't really learn anything about this new look. I honestly don't think maybe is going to be the total answer. It's the entire special teams unit. I know people have already soured on Charlie Blackburn, but he's coaching for his job right now. If you have another close game, like the last time the Rams were in a close game was the first 49er game at SoFi Stadium on Thursday Night Football. When the game got tight, the kicking game wasn't an option anymore. They had to go for it on fourth down, and it really affected Sean McVay in overtime. He overthought it, and they lost the game. So, yeah, that could be definitely a big advantage for the Seahawks. And again, I'm talking about the resume here. The reason why Seattle jumped on the Pittsburgh Steelers in, I want to say, week 2 or week 3, I lost track, is because Caleb Johnson, the rookie running back for the Steelers, he had like a muff punt or muff kickoff. And
Yep.
yeah, and to the credit of the Seahawks, they were all over it. They knew the rules. The rookie was like, "What do you mean that's a touchdown? No, it's a live ball. Go ahead and get it." So the special teams coordinator for Seattle is actually Jim Harbaugh's son. Is it? Yeah, Jay Harbaugh. I don't want to forget his name. Jay Harbaugh. And he's doing a good job there in Seattle. You got Jason Myers. That's a legit kicker right there. So that's going to be a big aspect that we're not talking about enough. And we're doing it here on House of Horns. That's how we cover everything here. That's a big concern. And like I mentioned, I am really worried about the secondary. We'll talk about that when we get to the Rams storyline or keys to the games. I'll find an area for it. But It's not a good secondary. It's not a good special teams unit. The offensive line has gotten better. That used to be one of my big concerns. They're much better offensively, but secondary and special teams, those areas could definitely derail any game for this team.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then switching over to the secondary, which is the number two concern for this team, and it's been one of those where you look at the game, and we saw some comments on our post game show where people were like, "Yeah, but Mac Jones still had a great game. Like he was able to complete." And part of it too was they went back to that quick game. And how do we know that Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold aren't going to use the quick game with JSN here and try to like neutralize the pass rush from the Rams? And so those are things you have to look at. And yes, it's been great seeing that, what's his name? Why am I blanking on his name? But the corner having two straight games with an interception. It's great seeing that, but you still need help on that secondary. And so, especially as you brought up, this is going to be a point offense, especially with the receivers and the tight ends, Arroyo, AJ Barner, guys you have to look at. And then JSN and Shaheed, and like these are guys that are going to test that secondary. And so there are concerns there. And you just hope that that front seven can get, is not only able to get to Sam Darnold, but also they're able to stop the run. Like it's going to be crucial to stop the run. And then I'm going to be interested to see how the Seahawks run their offense in terms of, are we going to see a lot of heavy personnel? If we do, what do we see from Chris Shula here? How does he go about attacking this Seattle offense?
Yeah, you said it. If the Seahawks are able to be balanced and they're able to, have a good rhythm and good timing to avoid the pass rush, and they're able to take their shots downfield, it's going to be a long day for the Rams secondary. And if if they're not that great against the run, you better go ahead and stop it. Make them one dimensional. Like I mentioned, Sam Darnold tends to make a couple of bonehead mistakes that really kill the momentum. So if he's able to sit back and he has options for days, and guys are getting open quickly, it could be a long day for the secondary. And I'm not saying that the Seahawks will just go big game hunting for this weak secondary with Rashid Shaheed. Like you mentioned, they have weapons all over the field. So if Darnold's even able to get the ball off quickly to disrupt this pass rush, maybe that's the way they play it first. They kind of wait for their shots later in the game. So they go with Arroyo, they go with the Barner, they pick them apart with JSN in the middle, and then eventually, you take a couple shots on the field and you get Rashid Shaheed involved. Now you're overthinking. Now you're like, crap, what are they going to do? Deep, middle, running game. What's going on here? And if the secondary has no real pulse of the game, that's when they tend to let up. But and going back to the Rams' concerns, like their positive is and their strength is the pass rush, but like go earn it. You can't just be all talk. We just saw Michael Parsons in one of the biggest games of the year for the Packers do nothing. He got taken out of the game. I get it. They weren't really doing anything. They weren't dropping back. They weren't really attacking the side of the field. But you don't have just a Michael Parsons. You have 3 or 4 guys who are able to get to the pass rush. Like, let's be real. Has Braden Fisk done anything his year 2? Not really. He's regressed a little bit. He hasn't made the impact that I thought he was going to make. Kobe Turner the same way. I think they should be a lot better. Byron Young is playing out of his mind. He's getting his credit. Jared Verse is doing well too, but I expected more. I think I set the bar too high for him, but he's capable of me, and he needs a big impact game. But he's playing solid. The edges are playing solid. But when you invest a lot of draft picks on 4 guys on the front, go and make your money. You are the strength of the defense. Don't leave the secondary to fend for themselves. So because if they do it, it's not going to go well. I get they got Roger McCreary, the Titans former Titans cornerback, but like you mentioned, Mac Jones still carved up the secondary. So go earn it, pass rush. This is why Les Need and Sean McVay loaded up on that front. That's your skill. That's your money making area. And if they don't show up, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, and before we get to our keys, we're not gonna leave this podcast without talking about perhaps the best thing about this matchup, Gilbert, and that is Sean McVay going up against Mike McDonald. And the chess, how they go about playing chess against each other is going to be the biggest thing for me in this matchup. And I'm going to get to the biggest reasons why I think you should be really really excited if you're a Rams fan, and I mean you've seen it already with this offense and how it's been and how it has evolved, right? We saw this offense be 11 personnel reliant. Then the injury to Puka happened, right? And then you saw them using more 12 and 13 personnel the last couple of weeks, and everybody's been talking about that. And then you brought up a great point post game that, hey, don't be surprised if you see McVay running more of that 11 personnel. And the same thing with Eric, like he was on the same page there as well with them going back to 11 personnel in this matchup. But I want to say this is that the Rams have been one of the best teams since like the middle of last season, Gilbert. They finished the season 9-2 after that 1-3 start. They're now 7-2. They're 15-4 now since they started 1-3, 1-4, whatever it was. And a lot of it has to do with like this offense kind of finally being able to, you know, take off. And you know, we've talked about the Seahawks and who they played and who haven't they played. But you look at the schedule for the Rams, it's been kind of up and down. Their two losses, right, was to the Eagles. They should have won that game. They blew a 20-point lead in the second half. They played great in that first half, and Shock McVay's game management came into play there. And then, of course, against the 49ers, they probably should have won that game. They just didn't show up in the first half, and it was too late for them. And then you had a turnover there by Kyron Williams in the at the 5 yard line. But the what makes this team go and however long they go, whether they win the Super Bowl or not, Gilbert, it comes down to Sean McVay and that offense and his ability to be able to evolve. And it's going to be interesting to see what he cooks up. To what Johnny G said on our comment, what can he cook up against Mike McDonald? Because Mike McDonald was brought in to be able to stop this offenses from both McVay and Shanahan. So for me, this is where it begins and this is where it ends for this matchup with those two guys, McVay versus McDonald.
Yeah, it's been frustrating watching the Rams offense for, about almost 2 years because they're so talented offensively and you have Sean McVay, but let's be real, for the most part it's been the defense that's been kind of holding it down for this team. And but I think there's now a sense where, like, for the first time in a while, where this offense is in rhythm. Like, there was a lot of games where Stafford and his offense were quiet last year, and there were some moments this year too where they're a little quiet. But in the past month, Matthew Stafford's been on a tear. I don't know. It was just like an actual blessing in disguise that Puka Nacua got hurt and they were able to spread it out and have more playmakers involved. Like, it's tough. Like, I think Sean McVay was just hesitant to use the tight ends, but like he also invested in one in the second round. So maybe that was the plan all along, to get more 12 personnel, 13 personnel. And for Sean McVay, one of his flaws, it just takes him a while to get over the 11 personnel. He also, like Eric mentioned, takes him a while to trust rookies. So I think the Puka Nacua injury was like, oh, or like a reminder, like, oh yeah, we did have some of these plans in the offseason. All right, let's do it. I sat on my comfort zone. Let's try it. And then they just skipped 12%, which is two tight end sets, and just said, F, let's go 13 personnel, which was a lot shocking because we all expected to eventually go 12 because, you thought maybe it'd be like a combination of Higbee and Ferguson or Parkinson and Ferguson. No, it's like those three names, and then you got Davis Allen. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's a lot that they're doing there. So, they're starting to become the offensive team that everybody, like, put it this way, the people who don't pay attention to the Rams always say, yeah, they're good because they have Matthew Stafford, but they're not watching the Rams
Yeah,
play offensively. Now you can say that they've been in rhythm, but they also haven't played anybody. So I want to see if this offensive scheme is legit, not even just the 13%. You adjust for the matchup. You play whatever is going to
exactly.
work for the game. 11 personnel, 12, 13, whatever. But I think for the first time in a long time, I think this offense is starting to really take off. And maybe, I'm not saying carrying the defense, but like this is why this team is so dangerous. And you talk about Mike McDonald's, scheme and defense, but guess what? You're playing a cerebral assassin in Matthew Stafford, who also has the benefit of working with Sean McVay. Like maybe 4 or 5 teams in the NFL have that benefit of having a quarterback that good. And then throw in the fact that you also get Sean McVay. Like Josh Allen doesn't have that. Sorry, Sean McDermott. Obviously Mahomes and Reed have that together. You can count Herbert and Jim
Lamar.
Harbaugh. That's a good combination. Lamar is good, but I don't know about the coaching staff. I like John Harbaugh, but he's also solid. But when it comes to this combination, it's rare. And I love what Mike McDonald's doing, but this is not just some like random, it's not like a middle of the pack quarterback like a Daniel Jones. And then, Shane Steichen is great and all, but that's the benefit that the Rams have. And I was just bragging about JSN being a top 3 wide receiver. Puka Nacua is right there. Like they have
Yep.
the same benefits, if not more. And then you got Devontae Adams as your number 2. I get I think he's dealing with a back thing. I forget what the injury is.
Oblique.
But oblique. So it sounds like he's going to be available and play. But to credit both of these wide receivers, I love these 2 wide receivers. Well, I like to watch them play. Like we usually talk about Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and that's probably the big 3. But now it's time to make room for these 2 guys, JSN and Puka Nacua. Like I think that might be my top 5, unless I'm forgetting somebody right now. But yeah, it's
I'm sure
just
somebody will remind us. Like
yeah, they'll tell me later. But again, like everything you want to talk about with the Seahawks, they're great and all, but the Rams are doing it the same way, and they just have a benefit of having one of probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I get Stafford for the long haul is not Mahomes or Josh Allen, but he's still pretty damn good. So I know I kind of went on a long-winded response there, but there's a lot to like about the Rams too. I know I harp on the secondary and special teams, but they're playing well right now, and I'm gonna give them the credit.
Yeah, no, and we're gonna cover everything in this matchup. That's why, we started with the negative and some of the concerns, but now we're talking up this matchup, and I think too you made a great point because one of the things that kind of Mike McDonald got exposed with when it came to when he was a defensive coordinator with the Ravens is he was really good at taking care of like the mid quarterbacks to like below average quarterbacks, right? He was able to use his his sim pressure to be able to confuse a lot of those those quarterbacks, but he really struggled against the good quarterbacks like the Mahomes, like the Josh Allens, and like you mentioned, here you have the quarterback and the coach where they can attack you in both ways. It's not just about. I think part of the reason, we all know part of the reason that Jared Goff is no longer on this team is because he had to be the one having to tell him what to do. Here, it's like, look, I'm gonna give you the play sheet. You decide how you want to go ahead and attack this team. And so that's the difference here, and why they've been successful, especially lately, and why Matthew Stafford is in the MVP conversation. I mean, he's only thrown 2 interceptions. Yes, yeah, I think he's done it about against terrible competition, but hey, it beats what we thought coming into the season. We might not see him because he had a bad back. So I mean, it just tells you how long we've come from the offseason till now to where now he's in the MVP conversation. So he's gonna have to continue to do it because this is gonna be a good matchup.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's definitely clicking there for Matthew Stafford being an MVP candidate. But I even like the running game. I like Kyron Williams, and I like the way they utilize Blake Corum. I got ugly for those 2 guys, especially that first time around against the 49ers, but they played well in the second game against the 49ers. I think they needed that to kind of get past that bad game. McVay hasn't wavered from Blake Corum. And then, like I mentioned what Eric mentioned that McVay is a little hesitant to trust rookies, and it took him a while with Blake Corum. It took him a while with Terrence Ferguson. Those guys are both of them. They're clicking, and I think this is why the Rams seem different because a lot of guys are involved, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Seahawks defense. But you know, we've been talking this game up a lot the last 2 days, and I'm pretty much ready to see what happens on the field. because it's any given Sunday, and you just never know what's going to happen. But right now, things are working for the Rams, and I got to be honest, they're working a little better for the Rams than it is for Seattle. Because anything you mentioned for offensively, I could say the same thing for the Rams, and
Yeah,
it's like crap. But like the one thing I do give the Seattle Seahawks credit for, and I'm trying to find things here, they're a little more complete defensively, and that could definitely be a problem. And when you're complete and you have a great mastermind like Mike McDonald, that could be a problem there. The Rams have a legit weakness that could get exposed, and that could maybe be their downfall. But besides those two areas, kicking game and secondary, they're they're probably better in most areas in this team right now. So, you know, people might clip this later and say, oh, "This guy said the Rams are better at these areas and they lost by 10." So be it.
yeah.
But I wouldn't be
So be
surprised
it.
either way what happens between Seattle and the Rams on Sunday.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard to tell, especially since these teams haven't faced each other. We're getting to see them in week 11. Like when we were breaking down the second game of that 49ers, we had seen what this 49ers brought to the table. We don't know what's gonna happen, especially since that last matchup last season was a bunch of backups for the Rams. But Gilbert, as you said, we've broken down this matchup from every angle now. Just give me your keys as to what you see for a Rams win against the Seahawks, and I'll give you mine here, and I'll keep it short.
Yeah, there's so many things I could touch on here for this game, but you know, I think it's gonna be critical for the Rams offense to establish a rhythm early, set the tone, play from ahead, because again, that secondary could be a problem. And if the Seahawks are the ones that they're throwing the first punch or scoring the first touchdown, they get to dictate the terms here. Obviously the pass rush could be a big key here, but I'm going to go to the offense. I'm going to go for Stafford and say set the tone. This is all the talk is on the Seattle's defense, and if you're able to beat them in various ways, and if this scheme that we've been seeing where everybody eats in this offense, let's see what's it about. So to me, I think go ahead and set the tone and say that the pecking order has not changed in the NFC West. But if that doesn't happen, you're going to be in a close game. You're going to let Darnold get into a rhythm. You're going to allow Mike McDonald's defense to get into a rhythm, and then that's when you're asking for trouble there.
Yeah, I'm with you. But before I give you mine, give us your keys to a Rams win, and then also be like Delver. Give us your score here. We have Delver saying good show, compas, 31-17 Rams. Puros Cuernos, see you Sunday. And I am gonna go back and share some of these comments. I got Henry, Alexander H, Pepe Le Pew, James Wheelock, and Johnny G. I'll get back to those in a sec here, just so I can give my keys to this for a Rams win against the Seahawks. And I'm gonna make it quick, Gilbert. If I'm the Rams and I win the toss, I've said this before. Take the ball first. May put the pressure on the Seahawks. Go down and try to score. Like we saw this. They got the ball first against the 49ers. They went down, they scored. They just continue to put the pressure on the 40. I get it. It's not the same type of defense as the one that we just, they don't compare because the 49ers are all beat up. I get that. But at the same time, you want to show what is your biggest strength? Your offense, right? Go out and prove it. You're going to win this game because of your offense. So why not go and get the ball first, go down, and then try to score first? And like I said, we haven't seen the Seahawks be behind in too many games so far this season. Put the pressure on them. See if Sam Darnold can deliver for them. Put the pressure on the Seahawks to try to trust Sam Darnold to try to be able to bring them back from a deficit. So for me, that's my biggest key is like the offense needs to put the pressure on the Seahawks defense because if that doesn't happen, then look, you're in it. And I still think it's going to be a dogfight. That this is what happens in boxing with prize fights. You see them kind of take a little bit of time to feel each other out, and it's going to be maybe it just turns into one of those slugfests where both of them end up having big plays and it turns into a close game at the end there. But yeah, it's if I'm the Rams, try to get the ball first and try to put the pressure on that Seahawks defense.
Yeah, and to Julian's comment there, and he mentioned Seahawks start off hot. Sorry, uh, Seahawks do start off hot, and that's so. What we're saying is it's easier said than done because they just jump on people. Seattle
Yep.
is just, you know, what did they do to Arizona last week? 35-0. They've been in massive leads. You mentioned how rare it is when they trail. So that's why we're both saying that's a key. Like if Stafford and the Rams jump out to an early lead and they set the tone, that's probably their I'm not saying the only way, but it's probably one of their best ways to win because the Seahawks are just that damn good playing from ahead. So it's easier said than done. But if they do jump out to a lead, then that's probably half the battle because Seattle is really good when playing from ahead.
Yeah, and that's the thing you don't want to fall into. And they've been great on the road, like I mentioned, under Mike McDonald. I keep doing the whole McDaniel thing. Mike McDonald. Um, they've only lost once on the road with him as as a coach. They won all their road games this season. Last season they only lost one. The only game they've lost on the road was to the Detroit Lions last season. So I mean, you got to put the pressure on them, or else they're going to come into SoFi and take the win away from you. So that's why, Gilbert. Before we get to our game predictions here and we go over the line, I want to get to these comments real quick. You have Henry Camacho says the Seahawks are good. I think the Rams are battle tested. Cooper Cup in a different uniform is tough. Maybe will have the Rams ready. I see Jared verse getting to Darno, and that is a good point. I mean, with how hyped this matchup is, we forgot all about Cooper Cup making his return to LA. Hopefully, everybody gives him a standing ovation, and give him his props for what he's done. He was a triple crown winner here. He won a Super Bowl, won an MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Gilbert.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know it's a big rivalry game, and he went to a rival, and it's a big time game for first place in the division. But you got to give the guy his credit and his dues, and give him a definitely a standing ovation. So I'm with you with Cooper Cup praise there, and making him feel like he did something big with the Rams, and he had a great career here.
Yeah, and Alexander Edge says, "Can our D line be effective enough this time to get pressure? We need to throw off Darno." And like I said, you might see, Clint Kubiak, take a page out of Kyle Shanahan and just do the quick game here to try to, make sure that the pressure doesn't get to Darno, like we saw in that Vikings game where they sacked him 9 times in Arizona. I mean, then I'm sure they looked at that film and they're gonna make sure that he doesn't get sacked that many times in this game.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like he tends to get a little rattled, and he tends to make a couple of big mistakes in every game. But I think the Seahawks are too smart for that. They're gonna get the ball off quickly. They're not gonna really drop back a lot because of that great pass rush from the Rams, and they're gonna take a page out of Kyle Shanahan's playbook. We saw the Eagles not allow Michael Parsons to be a factor in the game, so that's kind of the easiest thing you could do when you're facing a great front. But the problem is that Seattle with Seattle is that they have a lot of playmakers that get open quickly. JSN
Yep.
gets open quickly. Obviously, Shaheed needs some time to get down the field, but you got Arroyo and Barner. That's why I think those two tight ends are still going to be a big factor because you got to go quick game, you got to go short field, some dump offs every now and then. Who's the better pass
The
catcher from the
screen
two?
game,
Maybe you know this
Gilbert, the
one.
screen
Yeah,
game. Yep.
I was gonna say, who's better from the 2, Charbonnet or Walker? I think it might be Charbonnet. I could be wrong there. But yeah, whichever running back is better in the screen game, that's the one who's gonna get the rock early.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That's another thing to keep in mind. James Wheelock says the Rams even has to get off the field. Can let Seattle control the clock. Seattle will try to keep the Rams offense off the field, and that's another good point there and another good key. So something to keep in mind. Johnny G says people forgot Rams gave the Colts their first loss. Yeah, but part of the problem is that the Colts beat themselves in that game. I get it; they won. It doesn't matter. A win is a win, but I think that's part of the reason too was it wasn't an impressive win. Yeah, they gave them their first loss, and they kept. I think they kept Jonathan Taylor at his lowest in terms of rushing yards of the season. So that was impressive. So we'll see what happens there. And then we have Johnny G says, Puro Pinchi Party. Julian Shermer, Seahawks fan, says 27-24 Hawks. And then Angel Salcedo said, not a Rams fan, but I feel like the Rams fans don't like Cooper Cup. I don't, I don't, I don't, I think it's mostly because he went to sign with Seattle, but I think everybody kind of knew he was pretty broken down the last 2 seasons. And so I don't know about that. They don't like him. I think it's more of like, hey, he's playing for the enemy now. So, but I still hope that people, because he's making his return, give him his props because he did win Super Bowl MVP and he did have success here with the Rams.
Yeah, and Angel, I think you got onto the right link. I see that you're not on your phone anymore, or maybe you went to the other link. So hopefully that worked out for you in terms of the layout here.
Yep. All right, Gilbert. The Rams are 3-point favorites here. The over under here is 48.5. What's the right side of this line, Gilbert?
Yeah, right now it's a little too low for me to take Seattle on the points. I'll take the Rams here. It's just a 3-point difference. They're at home. I think that's the right size. Taking the Rams and laying the points -3. If it goes 3.5, then you start thinking about taking Seattle on the points, where you don't really care about the win and you care more about the cover. But I think right now, you've seen some weird games where it's like a 1-point game or a 1-point difference. Sorry, 2-point difference. So but still, I'll take the Rams here on the 3 -3. Um, and the over under is a little tricky. We talked about this on the betting show on Game Week with the compas, but I'm expecting a shootout. I know a lot of times these hyped up games under deliver and they become more of like a well, the good ones that do deliver, they tend to become playoff like games, and those are low scoring physical games. But I think there's too many weapons on the field, so I'm gonna go with the over here on the 48.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on the over, and I'm with you on the Rams here in terms of the line. They're 7-2 against the spread this season, so they've been a good public team for people to bet on. So I just see them continuing to do that, and like I said, they're 14-4 now over their last 19 games, and they've been really good about. I mean, some of their losses have been close, so they've been able to cover a lot of those over the last what is it 19 games. uh, Angel has a question here before we get to it. He says, "Are you still doing Gilberto's hour, or is it just the videos now?"
Uh, yeah, Angel. What we're doing is the game week with the compas. The people didn't like my name in the title, so we got rid of my name. But it's pretty much like an evolved version of that. So we post that, on Thursday mornings. We're trying to get it on Wednesday nights, but it depends on my kiddo who's crying over
Yeah,
here, and the
crying
cat's
over
crying too. Everybody's crying, so we gotta
everybody
hurry up
crying.
here.
They know
They
they know
know
it's almost
they know
time.
7 o'clock is when or Pacific is when I gotta check out. But yeah, check out Gaming with the Compas. We do all the betting stuff there. We also do a lot of fantasy football talk on the TikTok channel. For Compas on the Beat. So if you're interested in that too, but yeah, we're all over the place here.
All right, last thing here, Gilbert, so we can both go here. What is your game prediction here? What do you got? And everybody, let us know. We already got Julian's pick. We already got I think Delver's pick. So give us a game score here. What do you got? Who do you got winning, and by what score? But Gilbert, go ahead.
Yeah, I went with the over, and I like the Rams to cover. So and I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, you've been crapping on the Seahawks," and it's a predictable pick. Yeah, I get it, but I've been crapping on both teams, and the reason why I really like this game is the mystery. It's like who's gonna prove that concern that I have that's not really a concern. Like they figure it out. What did they fix? What did they do? We've been harping on both sides of both issues here, but um, maybe it's the easy way out to go with the proven commodity with the team that I could give the benefit of the doubt more to, and that's the Rams here, and they're at home. But like you mentioned, Victor, Mike McDonald plays better on the road for whatever reason. Kind of a weird stat, but
Mhm.
I'll take the Rams 31-24. High shootout game, close game. I bet the lead changes many times here, but I think eventually the Rams pull through and kind of, you know, look like they're a step ahead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark. I'm gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna say 30-25. It's a funky score, but um, I just I just think the Rams right now are are playing at a better level than the Seahawks. Not taking anything away from the Seahawks, they've been really good this season. I think these two teams are going to end up splitting the series, Gilbert, um, which is what I had coming into the season, anyways. I just think that the Rams right now are peaking at the right time. They're and we've seen the record for Sean McVay in November and December. This is I like I said, they finished that last season after that terrible start 9-2, and so they're just putting teams away. And the evolution of his offense is taking another step here. I just think they're a little bit uh, a, a little ready right now than the Seahawks are, and I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Rams will pull away there in the fourth quarter. So, like I said, 30-25. I like the Rams in this game, Gilbert.
Yeah, what you said there, that the Rams are peaking. I think the Seahawks are also peaking, and I think that's what makes this game so intriguing.
Mhm.
That they're both, for the most part, they're pretty healthy. Good question, by the way. And then they're both playing well on both sides of the football, and to me, that's what makes this game so much better. And Delbert, to answer your question, I checked my phone briefly. I don't know if there was any breaking news. I hope it's real news. But did Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis agree on a contract? That'd be great. It's kind of more of a casual fan boxing fight. It's a big fight to me. It's a big fight to you, Delbert. Uh, people don't know these names. I feel like, but
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I hope the contract gets signed, and I will take Virgil Ortiz to give you a name. He is on a different level. He's not as skillful as Boots, but man, he's powerful, and he has good skill. He gets a little fatigued though. He doesn't have the best defense, but you can't hang with him shot for shot.
Didn't Boots miss weight recently?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he
Yeah.
he
Oh,
he was at 147, and he had to go up.
yeah. Give me Virgil Ortiz if this fight does happen. I know a lot of people, like you mentioned, don't know that name, but when you have guys like Ryan Garcia trying to go after him, that tells you where he's at, and eventually he's gonna get the name recognition. He's just got to get more big fights there. All right, Gilbert, that is it. We've done, we got an interview with Eric D. Williams, and then now we've broken down this matchup every which way. We talked about the Seahawks. We've talked about the concerns for both teams. Now it's just time to get ready for Sunday. Thank you for for all this content. Being able to have this. I know I kept you a little longer, but it was worth it here just to be able to have this talk about this matchup because we're both really excited for it, and we hope it lives up to the hype because we need it. It's been terrible the last 2 weeks with some of the games on prime time, and we're due for a good game, Gilbert.
Yeah, yes, we are, and thank you for all the comments and seeing everybody so engaged into this matchup here: Seahawks versus Rams. Everybody's welcome, Rams fans, Seahawks fans, or whatever team you support. We love to have everybody involved here, and yeah, House of Horns is more Ram centric, but we cover it all on Compas on the Beat. That's our YouTube channel, Compas on the Beat. We're on audio, we're on Spotify, Apple, we're all over the place. But yeah, this channel is growing here and it's been awesome. We're trying new things here to get more on the YouTube Shorts spear, but it hasn't really worked out. So if you're watching the replay, hopefully you figure it out. There are two links. One of them is better for the horizontal, and the other one is not so good. But thank you for the patience here and everybody trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's time to get going here. Time to feed people. On that note, ya nos vamos, pues, and cat.